thoughts, and then questions, and reminder, no live streaming. Thanks.
Well, I'd like to open and express kind of sympathies for the victims of the Vegas shooting. What a terrible tragedy and sad event. It keeps things in perspective, especially for us in a time of our busiest time. It makes you realize there's so much more important things going on in the world than football. But hate that for their families. But we had our Tuesday practice today and thought it was nice and cool out there. So we had good energy and good enthusiasm. Got a lot of things to clean up and got some guys dinged up. Loaded it up from there.
Coach, you have a lot of experience at Alabama, kind of being the high-ranked team. You guys are now a top 5 team. I assume the dynamics, I mean, is that tangible on your end, that when you're a ranked team, everybody wants to bring you down, everybody wants to hang their season on you? Is it kind of a different kind of air you're breathing at that point?
Yeah, I'd say the wind blows a lot harder at the top. You know, I think everybody always wants a piece of Georgia because of the history of the program, and you know, it's a signature win for so many, regardless of what you're ranked. It just makes it even more so with what you're talking about. And, you know, we don't really talk about that with the team. We talk about controlling what you can control, which is getting better and playing good and taking out the mistakes we've made in the last 2 or 3 games so that we can increase our chance of success. We don't talk about, you know, what we're ranked or somebody else's effort's going to be greater based on what we're ranked. We're just really focusing on us.
Is there kind of a feeling when you do have the situation you guys are in where coach them even harder kind of deal?
I don't know that you coach them any harder, because I'll be honest with you, we coach them hard when we weren't ranked. I mean, we coached them, I believe, and you coach them, you give it all you got every day, and then you do the same thing tomorrow. So it's not that. I certainly think you've got to pay attention to detail more, meaning every little thing you better be on top of, whether it's a guy's shoelaces touching the line, stretching the right way, running the right route, getting the right signal, because success sometimes breeds complacency, and that's one thing we won't stand for here, is to be complacent. So we're on top of everything we can be, but I don't see how that's any different than any time.
Kind of staying in that same vein, you know, I can't remember what game it was last year. You mentioned Coach K's philosophy, the whole, you know, when they're struggling, you encourage when things are going. Does that apply here, or is that more on an individual basis there? With
both. I mean, I think that's when you talk to the team, you've got to enlighten them, because when they're not in this building, you know, there's no control over what they're being told and what they're reading about themselves and what they're hearing about themselves. So you got to be careful. You just got to be honest. And I think if you're consistent with your message, you don't have to stretch things. You don't have to lie. You just tell the truth, and they tend to listen. And when you got them listening, you better say the right things, because they'll believe you, and that's what we tried to do.
Kirby, I guess you had about 4 seniors on defense, or rising seniors, last winter that maybe looked at the NFL. When you look at how good this defense is playing so far, you know, how important was it for them to come back, and did any of them in particular, you know, did you think, you know, might have jumped?
You know, not really. I mean, I'm glad every one of them stayed. I really wasn't involved in the decision making of many of the defensive rising seniors. It was more those backs, you know, that I spent more time with. I didn't have to do a lot of talking to those guys. I think they understood where they were. They got information, and they respected it. You know, I mean, you really shouldn't be coming out unless you're a first round pick, maybe a early second, and we just didn't have anybody in that category.
Some guys on defense have talked about the kind of the phone booth philosophy. It's you against the guy in front of you. Is that the overriding philosophy on defense, really kind of that one-on-one, man-to-man kind of thing?
I wouldn't say it's the overriding philosophy. It is, I mean, win your box. We talk about that. We talk about winning in the phone booth, and that's important, but that obviously stuck with them. That's one of Coach Tucker's sayings, but I wouldn't say it's the mantra or anything like that. I mean, a lot more goes into it than just that, because some of those guys don't play in a phone booth. They play on an island, and everybody's different based on their position. I would say the front guys are very much like that, though.
Kirby, when it comes to the quarterback situation, obviously it's a competition, but is it a situation, I'm kind of trying to get an idea how you guys handle it. I mean, is it something you sit, both guys talk to them, you know, hey, you guys are in a competition now that this, you know, Jake's healthy, or is it Jacob's healthy, or is it the expectation that, you know, you don't have to say anything to them, they know that they're in a competition at all times, and then how have they handled it, how have they, you know, what is it, you know, what is their response to the whole thing been this far?
They've both been great. They understand the situation. We have talked to them to answer the question and explain the situation. They both completely understand. They see it from our perspective, the team's perspective, and the team goals and team focus. As long as that's put first, then all the right decisions are made based off that. And they realize that. And those decisions are made based on practice. So both those guys are mature and understand exactly what we're doing. And they've responded well in practice.
Derek Mason said today that you're not fooling anybody. He expects Jake Fromm to start. Is he correct?
Again, Derek Mason's entitled to his opinion. Derek Mason's not, he's not at our practices. He doesn't watch our practice tape that I know of, so I'm not really concerned with those comments.
Kirby, it's kind of similar along those lines. What's, you know, from a coach's perspective, why is it important to keep that kind of information or any related information like that from the opposing team?
What information would that be?
Whether somebody is playing, whether there's an injury, somebody's starting, etc.
I don't know that it's important that we keep it away from the other team as much as we keep it to our team, and we know what's going on with our team, and make sure that each of our players understands and knows how important practice is, and knows whether they're going to be on the trip or not, whether they're going to be on special teams or not. I don't get into much of that stuff, to be honest with you. I'm just trying to make our team better, and the guys that can practice and the guys that can play, we want to try to get those guys better.
Coach, you've talked about your special teams and running a blanket in the past. I mean, but how, in terms of his place kicking on field goals, I mean, do you sense any change in his confidence in terms of the fact that he's got that position sort of solidified?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's kicked much more confident in practice. I mean, I don't know how many field goals we've had. It doesn't seem like we've had that many. He certainly has kicked well in practice. I think the confidence of kicking off successfully has boosted his confidence, meaning the number of touchbacks he has increased his confidence even on field goals, because he knows he's kicking the ball well. I mean, the guy hit the upright the other day in Knoxville on one of those kicks, so he's hitting the ball good, and I think that's helped his confidence.
Kirby, how valuable do you think it will be going forward that you've had 4 of your 5 games in the fourth quarter, you've been able to rest a lot of starters and play a lot of young guys? I mean, what will that do going forward?
You know, it can help and hurt. I mean, you don't play in tight ball games. Sometimes guys get tight and don't play in them. We certainly had our fair share of those last year. I mean, every game was that way. So it helps the development of our team. Should we have an injury or a situation where another guy's got to go in and play, they've gotten experience, which we didn't get last year. So there's positives and negatives to both those. And I think it gives your team an opportunity to grow, and we believe in playing other players when you get the lead, because we're not as concerned about the statistics part. We want to go out there and let the young guys be successful.
A guy I don't think we've talked about once in a press conference, Justin Schaefer. You know, he's played in, you know, a few games this year. He's a guy that obviously you guys think enough of him to play him. I mean, can you talk about kind of how he's grown up since he's gotten here and what he's shown to maybe get himself into that 2 deep?
Yeah, he's he has on and off days. He's a freshman that's high and low at times, but he shows a lot of promise. He's got some physicality. He plays with good pad level. The guy's lost over 45 pounds since his arrival, and it's really important to him. You know, I think it's hard when you go from playing every snap of high school to being a backup, fighting for a job. Sometimes you don't know how to prepare the right way, and he's gotten better at that because he never knows when he's going to be in. If we get a lead, he goes in sometimes. He's an injury away from possibly playing, starting, but he's got good pad level. I think he's going to be a good player, and it's important to Justin to play well.
Coach, do you have an update on Reggie Carter? And Notori Johnson's a guy that we've seen on a bike the last couple of days.
Yeah, Notori's been a little dinged up. We think we're going to get him back probably tomorrow because he was in full uniform today, get some exercise. Reggie, we still don't know more his day-to-day. He wasn't able to go today.
Kirby said after the game the other day that this isn't your defense. Mel's been a head coach before. Do you see that in his future, and what kind of qualities does he bring to your program?
Mel's a great leader. He commands great respect. Players really follow Mel's lead. He does a tremendous job of game planning, X and O, and calling the game. But more important than that, he's a very loyal soldier that helps our guys out. If guys are emotionally struggling or confidence are struggling, he's able to go pep them up, and they follow his lead. So yeah, I think he'd do a tremendous job. He was an interim head coach before, and I know he'd do a tremendous job given the opportunity.
Following up on Lorenzo Carter, obviously he wasn't a first-round draft grader. He probably wouldn't have been back. Was he pretty close? And obviously physically, you look at him and he seems to have all the NFL attributes physically. So do you get feedback from scouts and stuff that we'd like to see this from him or what have you?
Not really. I mean, we don't get into specifics, and to be honest with you, that's something that would remain between Lorenzo and I. That information is privy to him, and we gave him some information, and Lorenzo understands that. He's worked really hard at some things that he felt like he needed to work on, and he's playing much better.
Suffice to say, he's helped himself a little bit this year when you look down the road.
He certainly played well. I think that's for them to determine the other, though.
Notice Walter Grant kind of doing some of the same work Lorenzo has. It's the first time I can recall seeing it. Is he a guy you guys think can bounce out and do the star stuff and play in space like Lorenzo's done for you guys?
I mean, we got to have a guy there that can do it if Lorenzo's not there, and he's been repping there for several weeks, so he's kind of Lorenzo's backup when it comes to that, and he's really bright, really smart, similar to Lorenzo in a lot of ways, maybe not as twitchy as Lorenzo, but very intelligent and picks up things well.
Last question?
Haven't seen Jordan Davis, Rashad Crabtree.
Jordan's been out there.
Jordan's been out there.
He's been out there practicing, yeah. Rashad's still dealing with some injuries and some different things. He's not been out there for a while. Still hoping to get him back, but we may not be able to. We'll wait and see on him. But Jordan's out there. Thank you.